Early last year, I made a video titled, "A Nintendo Direct is coming in 2020, not clickbait." The idea being that while most Nintendo commentators, news channels and that, when they make Nintendo Direct timeline predictions, they try to call what month it's coming in, what week, sometimes even exactly what day it's going to drop. But by just saying one is coming in 2020, as long as we got a general Nintendo Direct at any point, any day during the entire calendar year, I'd be right. My prediction would come true. I'd have the respect and admiration from everyone who watched me. They'd be telling me, "Oh, ChiGuy, you called it." I figured I had beaten the system. There's no way it could fail. Again, we just need one general Nintendo Direct in the entire year. Yeah, it didn't work out super well. But rather than admit I was wrong, like some idiot, as a true YouTuber, I'm just going to ignore all that, pretend it didn't happen, and continue to make baseless predictions. This is the way. So I'm predicting no, a Nintendo Direct is not coming in 2020. In fact, the year of the Nintendo Direct is 2021. Now, to be a bit more serious, I've seen a lot of discussion about Nintendo perhaps ditching the traditional Nintendo Direct format altogether. A few weeks ago, there was this much smaller indie creator, many of you probably have never heard of him, called Arlo, who did a video discussing the possibilities of, alternative routes Nintendo could go from now on, as they did in 2020. It's like they still had specific game directs, stuff like the third-party directs, etc., as well as games like Paper Mario and the Origami King having trailers just randomly drop out of nowhere. They could keep things going just like they did last year, which could work. I do see that argument, but also, counterpoint, Arlo's a Muppet. So, what does he know? For real though, I do think we are going to see them do more of what we saw in 2020 going forward. Pokemon, for instance, we had a couple of those Pokemon Presents deals last year. I don't even think they were actually called Direct. I think they were just called Pokemon Presents. I might be wrong on that. But I can almost guarantee we will see another one this year specifically for their 25th anniversary, where they'll talk about all sorts of new Pokemon games, hopefully remakes for a very particular gen that comes between the numbers 3 and 5. Even the third-party directs, I could see us getting more of those as well, definitely as more of a regular thing. But here's the thing. They clearly still want to do the directs, the direct format. Like I said, we're just seeing other versions of it, more dialed in on specific topics. Another example being like the Mario Anniversary Direct. Had first-party games in there, featured Mario, their biggest first-party character, but it was just specifically directed towards Mario rather than a bunch of other things. It's hardly like the idea of directs has gone anywhere, honestly. So I think there's various reasons we saw directs handled the way they did last year. Number one, obviously COVID. Screwed a lot of things up. You've got to get all these dev teams rounded up on the same page to put one of these things out. When you do things like the Pokemon Presents deal again, you're not going to be dealing with as many teams to show off, 2 or 3 games. It's going to be a lot easier to get everybody together and committed to showing things off at a specific time. Notice Microsoft and Sony, I will say, while I've said numerous times that I think they handled their actual game releases much better in 2020, I think they had much better output of games on specifically the Xbox and PlayStation consoles, they didn't really do much better in terms of having big presentations. They had some presentations, but nothing that really felt like a blowout. I remember some of the Microsoft stuff when they were hyping up the Series X. If you remember Sony, we were kind of waiting for them to talk more about the PS5 for a little bit, but Microsoft was kind of getting the jump on them in terms of putting information out there. But yeah, they had these presentations that were just like trying to have that feel, bringing people like Phil Spencer on and having devs introduce their games and talk about their games. But it was all done in like a cobbled together Zoom call. It wasn't good. I did think the PlayStation 5 presentation was pretty good for what they could do with it. But again, I don't think anybody is going to really look at 2020 and be like, there were some banger presentations in 2020. They like weren't good all around. But everyone still, despite all these issues, did make attempts at pulling these things off because, let's be honest, randomly dropping trailers whenever you want is certainly easier. I'm sure it's easier to just, throw random trailers up whenever they're ready, whatever day, just go crazy. But there's something to be said about the big events, stuff like E3, for instance, the pageantry of it all. And I've been saying for a long time that I could easily see the actual E3 event like as a press event where everyone has to show off all their stuff at the same time, like within 1 week. I could see that going away, but I don't see the idea of having big shows where you run down a bunch of announcements and hit people with big surprises. I don't see that going away. It's just not the same. Dropping a trailer, and I think it hurts a lot of the announcements that may not be as big or are not as substantial, like the Metroid Prime 4 teaser that happened, so long ago, but it was this big moment. People were so excited to see Metroid Prime 4 was back. There were those videos from like the Nintendo World Store of people going crazy, getting hype. Could you imagine if instead of being part of that Nintendo Direct, Nintendo just uploaded the video one day to YouTube? This video that's basically just a logo saying the game is in development. You're just scrolling through Twitter and you see it pop up, Metroid Prime 4 teaser, let me click on that. And then you get this video that's basically nothing. I don't think that type of announcement hits nearly as hard just on its own. Getting even a bit more substantial, like the Breath of the Wild 2 cinematic teaser that closed out, the last E3 Nintendo Direct? Would that even really hit people the same way if it just popped up on YouTube one day instead of being a part of this big E3 presentation, people being teased with, there's just one more thing we gotta show you. And during those moments, they cut to like a black screen or something and your brain's going, oh shit, what's it gonna be? And then they hit you with that big reveal. Not only do I think just randomly viewing it on YouTube isn't the same, and this is really the key for me, so pay attention, I don't think there's a suitable way to replace that feeling. I don't think there's a way to make people feel that way besides having these big presentations. I don't think it's possible. I think if you want to have people feel that, you have to have these types of presentations, which is why, again, we're still seeing the format. Like I said, I totally think we're in store for, a Pokemon Presents or whatever that shows off some random mobile stuff and then closes out with, hopefully, big Gen 4 remake reveal, because obviously that format works extremely well. That's obviously why there's no discussion about all Nintendo Directs stopping. Like, if you believe a random trailer drop like Paper Mario the Origami King is as good, which I think it's good to have announcements like that, but if you think that's as good a suitable replacement for a big Nintendo Direct type presentation, and more so if you think Nintendo believes that's a suitable replacement, then simply, why do any Directs at all? Whether it be for specific games, third party, whatever, that would be my question. Why not just post every trailer on YouTube whenever you want? Obviously, it's much easier because it's not the same. They know that. I think most of you believe that as well. And not everything can always fall into these categories. Not every game is a third-party game, an indie game. Not every game, definitely not every franchise, can hold its own presentation like a Pokemon or a Mario. Like I said, with more teaser-type stuff, throwing a logo out, just saying the game is in development, having that be a random trailer upload, it's just going to have people clicking on it going, why are you wasting my time with this? I don't think that works. And beyond just the feel of the thing, I think there's a value to that feel of the big events for various reasons. In the age of social media, there's nothing like the hype, again, of a big Nintendo Direct. People going in not knowing what to expect, unlike with the Mario Anniversary type stuff, even the Pokemon stuff, you kind of have a good feeling of what you may be in store for. But when you see something like, we've got a 45-minute Direct dropping that's just going to talk about upcoming Nintendo Switch games, everyone goes nuts, making predictions, reacting to the event itself, and people discuss it for days, even weeks after. You get a lot of attention, a lot of eyes on you in both the days leading up to, including the day of, and even after a big Nintendo Direct happens, which is a level of marketing that straight up running ads in that can't buy. And in terms of just the games themselves, it's a big way to boost sales, and specifically attention on titles. While your Mario, Zelda games, Pokemon certainly will always sell, while you have everyone's attention, you can slip in lesser known, smaller games, as well as, say, new IPs, and get all those eyeballs of people who came to see the big names to look at stuff that they may not look at otherwise. Again, going back to things like the third-party Nintendo Directs, the Indie World presentations, while those are nice to have centered around those types of games, you don't get the amount of eyeballs, you simply don't get the amount of viewership on an Indie World as you do a general Nintendo Direct. It doesn't happen. And sort of piggybacking on that, I think you actually need the big announcements that people expect to happen to be impressed with. And beyond that, kind of as I alluded to earlier, they have to be ready. I think as we saw all kinds of delays, both big and small, last year throughout the industry, I mean, God, Cyberpunk, what a meme that was, how many times that was delayed. Again, a lot of that having to do with COVID. When you're in that type of situation, it's hard to have things locked in, and when you look at what Nintendo did have last year, especially in terms of first-party games, it wasn't that great. Like, imagine trying to set up a big E3 Direct. Like, if they wanted to do one around that time, what would there be to announce? Like, the 3D All-Stars Collection and Age of Calamity? Even of those two games, what if, like, Age of Calamity was in a situation where it could be getting delayed into 2021 or something like that? I mean, who knows how possible something like that was given the state of things last year. 2021, I think, is going to be a much stronger year. I've said that in numerous videos recently. There are surely tons of announcements that still need to be made. And also, I think given the long stretch we've had without a Nintendo Direct, it's not like Nintendo doesn't see people talking about it being so long. And with us going over a year now since the last one, I imagine they wouldn't want to do one unless they can do it big, like huge. And maybe that means we still don't get a general Direct until later in the year, maybe what would have been E3 time even later, where they can detail like the holiday lineup and that. But I genuinely do think we will see a traditional general Nintendo Direct again in 2021. I personally don't think they're dead. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the future of Nintendo Directs in the comments. Do you think they're dead? Do you think they're coming back? And do you think we'll see one in 2021? Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this discussion of the future of Nintendo Directs. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.